I need to tell someone what happened before I forget her real face. My name is Marcus Webb, and I work the graveyard shift at Millbrook Data Solutions in Spokane, Washington. Or I did. I'm not sure anymore if what I do constitutes work in any normal sense of the word. The building is still here. I still show up at 11 p.m. and leave at 7 a.m. But something fundamental changed 3 weeks ago, and I think I'm the only person who remembers how things used to be. Let me start from the beginning. Millbrook Data Solutions is a mid-sized company that manages server infrastructure for medical practices across the Pacific Northwest. We're the people who make sure your doctor's office doesn't lose your records when their computer crashes. It's boring work, which is exactly why I took the job. After 6 years as an EMT, boring sounded like paradise. No more overdoses, no more car accidents, no more holding pressure on wounds that wouldn't stop bleeding. Just me, a computer terminal, and the quiet hum of climate-controlled server rooms. The building itself is unremarkable. 5 floors of gray carpet and white walls, built in the early 2000s when every tech company thought they needed exposed ductwork and an open floor plan. During the day, it houses about 60 employees. At night, it's just 2 of us, me and Sarah Chen. I liked Sarah. Past tense feels wrong, but I'm trying to be accurate about the timeline. Sarah was 26, 3 years younger than me, with a dry sense of humor and a coffee addiction that would probably kill her before 40. She'd worked the night shift for 6 months before I arrived, and she showed me the ropes without making me feel stupid. We weren't friends exactly, but we had that easy camaraderie that comes from being the only 2 people awake in a building designed for dozens. Our job was simple. We monitored the server rooms on floors 2, 3, and 4. We responded to automated alerts when something went wrong, usually nothing serious, a temperature spike, or a tripped breaker. We did security rounds every 2 hours, checking doors and windows. We kept a log. That was it. 8 hours of mostly nothing, 5 nights a week. The building was easy to navigate. Floors 1 and 5 were administrative offices that we never needed to access. Floors 2 through 4 were server rooms, equipment storage, and a small break room on 3, where Sarah and I took our lunch breaks. The elevators worked fine. The stairwells were always empty. Nothing strange ever happened. Until 3 weeks ago. It was a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesday was trash day, and I'd spent the first hour of my shift taking recycling bins down to the loading dock. Sarah had taken the first security round, and when I got back to the monitoring station on the 3rd floor, she wasn't there. Not unusual. Sometimes she'd stay in one of the server rooms if she was troubleshooting something. I pulled up the security camera feeds on my monitor. We had cameras covering the hallways and stairwells, though not the server rooms themselves for some privacy reason I'd never understood. I found her on the 4th floor. She was standing in front of the utility closet at the far end of the east hallway, just standing there completely still, staring at the door. I picked up my radio. "Sarah, you good?" Static. Then her voice, distant and distracted. "Yeah. Sorry. Found something weird. Want me to come up?" "Yeah. You should see this." I took the elevator to 4 and found her still standing in the same spot. The utility closet door was open, and she had her phone out, taking pictures of something inside. "What's up?" I asked. She stepped aside so I could see. The utility closet was small, maybe 4 feet deep, filled with the usual janitorial supplies and a circuit breaker panel. But taped to the inside of the door was a laminated sheet of paper. The tape was old, yellowed at the edges. The paper looked like it had been there for years. At the top, in a plain sans serif font, it said, "Night Shift Protocols." Below that, a numbered list. 1. Between the hours of 11 p.m. and 7 a.m., never use the elevator to descend, only to ascend. 2. If you hear knocking from inside a server room, do not respond. Do not open the door. The servers do not knock. 3. The break room on the 3rd floor should remain locked after 2 a.m. You will not need it after this time. 4. If you encounter another employee during your shift, verify their badge number before engaging. There should only be 2 of you. 5. Do not investigate any sounds coming from the 5th floor. The 5th floor is not in use. 6. If the lights in any hallway begin to flicker in a pattern, 3 short, 3 long, 3 short, evacuate the building immediately using the west stairwell. 7. Keep this list confidential. Do not discuss it with day shift personnel. I read it twice. Sarah was watching my face. What the hell is this? I said. No idea. I was doing rounds and saw the door was cracked open. This was just there. This wasn't in our training. I know. Did you check the date? When this was put up? She shook her head. No date, but look at the tape. This has been here a while. I leaned closer. She was right. The tape had that brittle quality that comes from years of temperature changes, and the lamination was old style, thicker than what you'd get from a modern office supply store. Should we ask someone? Sarah said. Like, call Davies. David Davies was our supervisor. He worked days, and I'd met him exactly 3 times. He seemed competent but distant, the way managers of night shift workers always are. And tell him what? We found some weird list? I mean, yeah? I looked at the rules again. They were specific, too specific to be a joke, but they were also insane. Don't use the elevator to descend. Why? And the servers don't knock. Who would think servers knock? Let's just keep this between us for now, I said. Finish the shift. We can bring it up tomorrow if anything weird happens. Sarah nodded slowly. You think it's a joke? Like someone messing with us? Has to be. But I didn't believe that. And I could tell Sarah didn't either. We went back to the monitoring station and didn't talk about it for the rest of the shift, but I noticed Sarah had taken a picture of the list, and I noticed she kept glancing at the camera feed for the 4th floor, like she expected something to happen. Nothing did. We logged out at 7 a.m., and I went home and slept like normal. The next night, Sarah was different, not in an obvious way. She still smiled when I arrived, still made the same jokes about the coffee in the break room tasting like burnt rubber. But there was something off in her posture. She seemed tense, alert, like she was listening for something. You okay? I asked as we settled into our chairs at the monitoring station. Yeah, just didn't sleep great. Thinking about the list? She hesitated. Kind of. I keep wondering why it was there. Like, why make rules like that unless something happened to make them necessary? I'd thought the same thing. Maybe it's old, like from when the building was used for something else. Millbrook has been here since 2003. Building was constructed for them. Maybe a previous night shift team? Maybe. But she didn't sound convinced. At midnight, during our first security round, Sarah suggested we split up to cover the floors faster. I took 2 and 3. She took 4. I found her in the utility closet again. Sarah, she turned, and in the fluorescent hallway light her face looked pale. There's a new one. What? She pointed to the door. Below the original list someone had added another laminated sheet. Same yellowed tape, same font. It said, Addendum, Tuesday Protocols. 8. If you read these rules, you must follow them. Failure to comply will result in immediate corrective action. 9. The monitoring station should never be left unattended for more than 15 minutes after midnight. 10. If your coworker begins behaving strangely, refer to Rule 4th. My mouth went dry. This wasn't here yesterday. I know. Someone added it. Between yesterday and tonight, I know. We stared at each other. The hallway was completely silent, except for the hum of the HVAC system. We should check the cameras, I said. See who came up here. We went back to the monitoring station and pulled up the footage from the 4th floor. I scrubbed through the entire previous day, from 7 a.m. when we'd left to 11 p.m. when we'd arrived. Nothing. No one entered the fourth floor. The utility closet door remained closed the entire time. That's impossible, Sarah said. Yeah, so either the cameras are broken or the list was already there and we just didn't see it yesterday. But that didn't make sense either. I'd looked at that door. I'd read the original list carefully. There was no addendum. Sarah pulled out her phone and compared her photo from yesterday with the door now. In yesterday's photo, there was only one laminated sheet. Okay, she said quietly. Okay. So someone added it. Someone who knows how to avoid the cameras or mess with the footage. Should we leave? I thought about it. Thought about walking out right now, getting in my car, and never coming back. But I also thought about my rent, my car payment. The fact that jobs like this, boring, quiet, decent pay, were hard to find. Let's just follow the rules, I said. Just for tonight, see what happens. Sarah looked at me like I was insane. Maybe I was. You want to follow instructions from a mystery list that appears out of nowhere. I want to keep my job and not freak out over what's probably nothing. She didn't argue, but I saw her read the rules again, her lips moving slightly as she memorized them. The rest of that shift, we followed every rule exactly. Sarah took the stairs when she needed to go down. I made sure we were never away from the monitoring station for more than 15 minutes. We ignored the sounds because there were sounds. At 1:30 a.m., something knocked inside server room 4B. 3 deliberate knocks, evenly spaced. We looked at each other across the monitoring station. The rules said not to respond. We didn't. The knocking continued for 5 minutes, then stopped. At 2 a.m., I got up to head to the break room out of habit. Sarah grabbed my wrist. Rule 3, she said. Break room locks at 2. That's stupid. We always use it after 2. Not tonight. I sat back down. At exactly 2 a.m., we heard a lock click through the building's ambient silence. The break room door, 1 floor below us, had locked itself. At 4 a.m., we both heard something from the 5th floor. Footsteps, slow and heavy, pacing back and forth directly above our heads. I reached for my radio to call building security, then remembered Rule 5. Do not investigate any sounds coming from the 5th floor. We sat there, listening to something walk back and forth for 20 minutes. Then it stopped. When 7 a.m. finally came, we logged out and went to our cars without speaking. I sat in my driver's seat for 10 minutes, hands shaking, before I could turn the key. That was 13 days ago. Since then, new rules appear every single night, sometimes just 1. Sometimes 3 or 4. They're always in the same format, always laminated, always taped inside that utility closet door, and they're always specific to what's about to happen. Night 3, a rule appeared that said, if the elevator arrives on a floor you did not call it to, do not enter. Wait for it to leave. At 1:45 a.m., the elevator opened on the 3rd floor, while Sarah and I were at the monitoring station. Neither of us had pressed the button. The elevator was empty. We watched it through the hallway camera. After 30 seconds, the doors closed and it descended to the basement, a floor that doesn't exist on the building directory. Night 5, if you see a figure in the stairwell that matches your coworker's description, verify their location before approaching. I saw Sarah in the west stairwell on the camera feed. At the same moment, Sarah was sitting next to me at the monitoring station. The figure in the stairwell stood completely still, facing the camera for 6 minutes. Then it walked down the stairs and disappeared. Night 7, do not make eye contact with your reflection after 3 a.m. I broke that rule. I was washing my hands in the bathroom on 3, and I looked up at the mirror out of habit. My reflection smiled at me. I wasn't smiling. I backed out of the bathroom and didn't go back. But Sarah started changing after the first week. She began arriving earlier, sometimes an hour before shift start. I'd find her in the utility closet, reading the new rules, taking notes in a small black notebook she'd started carrying. She stopped eating during our shifts, stopped drinking coffee, When I asked if she was okay, she'd give me that same distracted smile and say she was fine. On night 9, I caught her doing something strange. It was 2:30 a.m., and I'd gone to check server room 3A for a temperature alert. When I came back, Sarah was standing in the middle of the monitoring station with her eyes closed, her head tilted slightly to the side like she was listening to something. "Sarah," her eyes opened. "Did you hear that?" "Hear what?" "The pattern, the lights in the east hallway. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short." I checked the camera feed. The lights in the east hallway were steady. "There's no pattern," I said. She looked at the monitor, then at me, and something passed across her face. Confusion. Or maybe disappointment. "Right," she said. "My mistake." But I saw her write something in her notebook, and I saw her glance toward the 4th floor camera feed, toward the utility closet, like she was expecting new instructions. The rules kept getting stranger. Night 10. If your coworker begins speaking in a voice that is not quite their own, do not respond. They are no longer your coworker. Night 11. The building will test you. It will offer you things you want. Do not accept. Night 12. One of you will be asked to leave. One of you will be asked to stay. Choose correctly. On night 13, 1 week ago, Sarah didn't show up. I waited until 11:30, then called her cell. No answer. I called Davies, who sounded annoyed at being woken up. He said he'd try to reach her and get someone to cover the shift. In the meantime, I should proceed with the night alone. I did my first security round at midnight, and when I reached the 4th floor, I found new rules in the utility closet. Solo shift protocols. 11. When working alone, you must complete all rounds in under 1 hour. 12. Do not call out names. The building will answer. 13. Your coworker is still here. You will see her. She is not lost. 14. If she asks you to follow her, do not follow her. 15. If she asks you to stay, stay. I felt cold sweat on my neck as I read Rule 13. Your coworker is still here. I pulled out my radio and scanned through all channels. "Sarah, if you can hear this, respond." Silence, static. Then faintly from somewhere in the building, not through the radio, I heard her voice. "Marcus, I'm on 5. I need help." Every instinct told me to run to the 5th floor, but Rule 5 was still taped to the door. Do not investigate any sounds coming from the 5th floor. "Sarah, come down to 3. I'm at the monitoring station. I can't. The doors are locked. You need to come get me." Her voice was coming from directly above me. From the 5th floor, I checked the camera feed for the 5th floor stairwell access. The door was closed, locked from our side like it had been for months. No one could get up there without a facilities key. "Sarah, I'm looking at the cameras. You're not on 5. Where are you really?" Silence. Long enough that I thought the connection, whatever connection this was, had broken. "Then why won't you help me, Marcus?" And the voice was different. Still Sarah's voice, but the cadence was wrong. The inflection, like someone doing an impression who'd only heard recordings. I backed away from the utility closet and returned to the monitoring station. For the rest of that shift, I heard Sarah calling for help, sometimes from the 5th floor, sometimes from the basement that doesn't exist. Once, from inside server room 4B, the one that knocks. I followed the rules. I didn't respond. I didn't go looking for her. At 7 a.m., I logged out and went straight to Davies's office. He arrived at 8, and I told him everything. The rules, the sounds, Sarah disappearing. He listened with the patient expression of someone who's dealt with night shift paranoia before. "Marcus, I got a text from Sarah at 6 a.m. She quit. Family emergency. Had to leave the state immediately. I'm working on finding you a new partner." "That's not possible. I heard her in the building last night." "You heard something. Buildings make noise at night, especially older buildings. This one was built in 2003. Old enough." He leaned back in his chair. "Look, I get it. Night shift is isolating. Sometimes your mind plays tricks. But Sarah is gone. She quit. She's fine. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to think I'd imagined everything. Then Davies's computer monitor flickered, and for just a moment, I saw security camera footage of the fourth-floor utility closet. The door was open, and Sarah was standing inside reading the rules, her face tilted up toward the camera with an expression I can only describe as blissful. The monitor flickered back to Davies's email inbox. "I need to see her resignation text," I said. "That's not really, please." He sighed and pulled out his phone, then showed me the message. "David, this is Sarah. I'm resigning effective immediately. Family emergency. Thank you for everything. S." The timestamp said 6:03 a.m. I looked at the message for a long time. "Can I see her employee file, Marcus, please?" He pulled it up on his computer. Sarah Chen, hired 8 months ago. Emergency contact, Margaret Chen, mother. I wrote down the phone number. I called Margaret Chen that afternoon from my apartment. An older woman answered, her voice thick with an accent I couldn't place. "Hello, Mrs. Chen. My name is Marcus Webb. I work with your daughter Sarah." A long pause. "Sarah doesn't have a job. She's been in treatment for the past year." My apartment suddenly felt very cold. Treatment? For her schizophrenia. She had a break after college. We're managing it with medication, but she can't work yet. "Who did you say you were?" I hung up. I pulled up Millbrook's website and navigated to the employee directory. Sarah Chen's photo was there, under technical staff. But when I really looked at the photo, really studied it, I couldn't remember what Sarah actually looked like. I knew her hair was dark. I knew she wore glasses sometimes, but her face was blurry in my memory, like trying to remember a dream. I pulled up my phone and scrolled through my messages. There were no texts from Sarah. No calls. I checked my work email. Nothing. Had I ever actually talked to Sarah outside of the building? I tried to remember our conversations. What had we talked about? Her coffee addiction. But had she ever actually drunk coffee in front of me? Her sense of humor. But could I remember a single specific joke? The more I tried to remember, the more uncertain I became. That night, 6 nights ago, I went back to work. I told myself I wouldn't. I told myself I'd call Davies and quit, just like Sarah supposedly had. But at 10:45 p.m., I was in my car. At 11 p.m., I was in the building. The monitoring station was empty. There was no second chair. There never had been. The desk had space for one person. I checked the employee schedule posted in the break room. Night shift, Marcus Webb. No partner listed. I went to the 4th floor. The utility closet door was open. The walls inside were covered in laminated rules, hundreds of them, layered over each other, some peeling at the edges. I couldn't read them all. They overlapped, contradicted each other, spiraled into nonsense. But at eye level, directly in front of where I stood, was a fresh sheet. Final protocol. 16. You have always worked alone. 17. Sarah Chen was a test. You passed. 18. The building needs a caretaker. Someone who follows instructions. Someone who understands the importance of order. 19. You may leave at any time, but if you do, someone else will be hired. Someone who might not follow the rules as carefully as you do. 20. The things in the building will be set loose if the rules are not followed. 21. You have been chosen because you are dependable. 22. This is not a request. I stood there reading it over and over. Someone else will be hired. I thought about the knocking in the server rooms, the footsteps on the 5th floor, the figure in the stairwell wearing Sarah's face. All the things that followed the rules, that stayed in their designated spaces, that only appeared when the protocols allowed. What would they do if no one was here to maintain the structure? I think about that every night now. I still work at Millbrook. I still follow the rules. Every evening, new ones appear in the utility closet, and I read them carefully, and I do exactly what they say. Sometimes I see Sarah. She's always on the 5th floor cameras now, just standing in the empty offices staring at nothing. She looks happy. Or maybe not happy. Maybe just absent. Like someone who finally stopped fighting. Davies hasn't mentioned her since our conversation. When I asked if he'd found a replacement partner, he looked confused and said I'd always worked solo shift. I checked the company records. There's no employee file for Sarah Chen anymore. The phone number I wrote down connects to a disconnected line. But I remember her. I have to remember her. Because if I don't, if I let the building erase her completely, then I have to accept that I've always been alone here. That every conversation I remember, every shared lunch break, every moment of human connection during those long nights, was just the building testing me, teaching me how to be what it needs. Last night, a new rule appeared. Permanent assignment, 23. You are doing well. The building is pleased, 24. Others will be hired. They will work day shift. They will not know about you, 25. You will continue to maintain night operations indefinitely, 26. This is your purpose now, 27. When you no longer wish to continue, simply stop following the rules. You will be released. Another will take your place. 28. But remember, the things you contain will be their responsibility. What happens to them will be your fault. I can't leave. I understand that now. Every night, I hear them. The things in the server rooms, on the 5th floor, in the basement that doesn't exist. They're always there, always waiting for me to miss a step, to break a rule, to stop paying attention, and if I do, they'll need someone else to contain them. Someone who might not be as careful as I am. Someone like Sarah, who followed every rule perfectly until she became part of what needed containing. I'm writing this during my lunch break. I'm allowed 15 minutes at 3:30 a.m. now, a new rule from 3 days ago. I don't know if anyone will read it. I don't know if it matters, but I need someone to know that Sarah Chen was real. She worked here, she found the rules, she followed them, and when I look at the 5th floor cameras now, when I see her standing in those empty offices with that peaceful expression, I wonder if she found what the building promised, if she got what she wanted, or if she just learned to stop wanting anything at all. My break is almost over. I need to get back to the monitoring station. There's a new security round scheduled for 4 a.m., and I can't be late. The rules are very clear about that.